Like every story that has been written or told, they always have to start from somewhere. And this one is going to start from the beginning. This is the story so far about Chawy, the unsung hero. So Chawy's first steps into eSports was through Defense of the Ancients, or more popular known as DOTA. But this wasn't his first competitive experience though, because he used to play for 4 years competitive table tennis on multiple teams, and also in his school's team where he actually won the West Zone Championship title. So you could say Chawy always has been a very competitive person, and you can see throughout his career and results and work ethic throughout later on this video. But his first big esports debut was in late 2010 in the World Cyber Games, but he wasn't playing Dota there. No. He was actually playing League of Legends. And this was with a team called Another Story, which also had another famous player on it called Ice Ice Ice. And they actually placed third on this tournament, losing to CLG and SK Gaming, and actually beating the Chinese team though and making it to the third place. And after this, he transitions back to Dota 2. This was probably when Dota 2 was released, and he actually makes it out to the Team Scythe team for the Dota 2 International 2011 lineup, which is led by HY, also known as Huhu, who had actually a documentary made about him by Valve, and Chawy can be seen on the background a bit on those clips. But they actually placed third on that tournament, and very significant standing though, and receiving $150,000 for themselves, which is quite a lot of money in 2011 in esports. After this, Chawy decides to retire from Dota 2 and move to League of Legends because he felt he wanted to try something new and refreshing, and loved the customization of League of Legends rooms and masteries particularly. And this leads to the next chapter of this video, the Singapore Sentinels era. Chawy's first professional esports team was actually the Singapore Sentinels. This was a team also that was sponsored by Garena. And if I would go describe the team, I would say they were pretty much one of the most dominant teams in the Southeast Asian region. And if you look at their statistics, they placed second on first of the 3 GPL seasons, only really losing to the Taipei Assassins in the best of series. They sometimes took a game or two out of them in the regular season, but for the most part, these were their biggest opponent in that region. But all the other ones, they were dominating for the most part. And their first international experience was in the IPL face-off in San Francisco, where they beat Curse 2-0. But later on in the tournament, they lose to MTW, which is the team that has Balls and Xmidi on it, 0-2. And shortly after this, the Season 2 regionals are closing in. And Chawy and Singapore Sentinels are in a very lucky position, because Taipei Assassins will be playing in a different regional qualifier. They will be playing a Taiwanese one, so they will be playing in separate tournaments. So looking at the statistics, the Singapore Sentinels were fan favorite and statistical favorite to make it through the Season 2 Worlds. But what happens? So in the Southeast Asian qualifier, there's a different system as a qualifier. You have a best of 1, double elimination, and the finals are best of 3. And Singapore Sentinels were seeded to the second round, and on that second round they go play against the Saigon Jokers, and they beat Saigon Jokers 1-0. And later on the tournament, on round 4, which is the finals, they meet the Saigon Jokers again, who made it through the elimination bracket, and they lose to Saigon Jokers 1-2. And this was a huge upset. This was not expected to happen. Saigon Jokers was considered a trash tier team, but they went this significant improvement throughout few months. But some could say Singapore Sentinels could have even performed better than Saigon Jokers in Worlds. But essentially, there was a huge upset. And after this, the Singapore Sentinels were devastated. They were not expecting this. It was a huge defeat for them. And afterwards, they make it to the IPL 5 qualifiers, which they won and qualified to IPL 5, where they place 9 to 12. They sadly go against Taipei Assassins in the elimination bracket and lose to them. And after the IPL 5, Chawy and another Singapore Sentinel member, Hallelujah, gets the opportunity to go to the All-Star Shanghai 2013. The reason they got voted in because the voting system didn't enable people to vote 5 people from the same team, and Chawy and Hallelujah were second in place votes after BB and Little Boys, so they were the people to get into that tournament, and they kind of had like an okay performance, not a very strong performance at that tournament. And this of course leads to the next event, the Season 3 qualifiers. And once again, the Season 3 qualifiers are closing in. Like last year, the Taipei Assassins are playing in a different league, and they don't have to worry about them. Once again, the Singapore Sentinels are the favorites to win. And what happens is, you have the same bracket system, double elimination with a best of 1 and best of 3 finals. And funny enough, there was a team from Philippines that was supposed to play in that regional called Exile. But Exile couldn't play and because they had visa issues. So they get replaced, the second best team in Philippines called Mineski, and I think people remember this team really well. And once again, the same thing happens. The Singapore Sentinels in the round 2 beat Mineski 1-0. Mineski drops to the elimination, and Singapore goes to the finals. And there they are again, Mineski versus Singapore Sentinels in finals. And here again, the same thing happens. Mineski beats Singapore Sentinels 2-1. Once again, Chawy and Singapore Sentinels, the fan favorites, the statistical favorites, were not able to make it to the Worlds. And shortly after this, Chawy decides to depart from Singapore Sentinels around in 2014, and Singapore Sentinels go to huge downfall, going to lower and lower placements in GPL, in GCL, and eventually getting disbanded in 2014. And this leads to the next chapter of Chawy's story. After Chawy departs from the Singapore Sentinels, he was few months as a teamless player. He didn't really get a lot of good offers back then, but he indeed get a chance to try out for TSM, but he didn't have the money to fly over to America for the tryouts because he was in financial issues in start of 2014. But a few months later, shortly before summer 2014 of GPL, the Taipei Assassins come knocking on his door, his old rivals, and offer Chawy to play in Taiwan. And he gets the chance to play as a substitute in the team between juggling around the mid and the support roles. And Chawy accepts the offer. At the beginning of the scrim time, Chawy and the other mid laner Morning split the scrim time 50-50, so Chawy gets to play half of the games and Morning gets to play half of the games. However, Chawy's performance in the scrims wasn't very good and he was getting outclassed by the Taiwanese opponent, so the coaching staff decided to reevaluate their situation, put all their training time with Morning instead of Chawy. And they shortly after, qualified for the Worlds. And they didn't have the best run in the Worlds at all. And the thing is, Chawy doesn't get to play at any of the 6 games on the group stages that they played. The Taipei Assassins finished dropping out of group stage 1-5, so they only really won 1 game at that tournament. And Chawy was really feeling that he should have been playing on those games. He felt that he would have played better than Morning at Worlds. And the coaching staff made a decision after the Worlds to put actually Chawy as a starter mid laner. And he had a pretty good performance at this season at LMS. However, things didn't go really well as their really great jungle Wince retires from the team, and then they start to find a substitute, which didn't really work out for them because he was a rookie, and things started to really fall apart at this point. And then they found ex-Flash Wolves jungle Refrain, but they already kind of lost the positions to other teams in the league and finish up 4th. on that split. And they are closing into the qualifiers, but then a sad thing happens. So when I was referring previously about Chawy having financial issues in 2014 early on, he was actually elo boosting to get money. He did a one elo boosting job, and he was trying to like his brother was doing some investment thing, and he was trying to help out his brother because he lost a lot of money. And what happened was Chawy elo boosted a friend of his, but this friend never paid him the money for the elo boosting. And then months after, when Chawy needed the money, he came asking for this person, why could you pay me now the money you owe from the boosting? And this player says, no, I'm not gonna pay you for this. And Chawy keeps pecking him, please pay me, please pay me. And then this friend reports him for elo boosting, and Chawy gets banned. Chawy gets banned right before the playoffs for Season 5 Worlds. And TPA just has to substitute Morning, and they didn't qualify for Worlds. They had a bad performance at playoffs, and Chawy stays banned for, I think it was 6 months of a ban that he was put into. And this was a very devastating, because this was the 4th time Chawy misses Worlds. Granted, maybe his team wouldn't been able to get into Worlds anyways, but this was very unfortunate for him. He also misses the All-Stars opportunity because he was still banned and he couldn't be voted because of that. And that kind of ends up his time with TPA. The TPA decides not to renew contract with Chawy, and this leads to the last chapter of this story. Shortly after Chawy departs from the Taipei Assassins, he gets a lot of offers from North America and the European LCS teams, but he decides to give Taiwan another shot. He joins the AHQ, the Taiwanese powerhouse, and he and Westor, the other mid laner of AHQ, split the game, so Chawy will always play on red side and Westor will be playing on blue side. This will always give them a favorable matchup. Chawy is able to utilize his huge champion pool and always able to counter pick once he's playing on red side, and this was a very successful strategy, and this gave them 25 wins out of 28, so they only lost 3 games on the regular spring split because of this strategy. They were dominating the LMS for the most part. But on the later weeks of the spring split, the patches changed and AHQ was kind of lost. They started to kind of slump, and once you win a lot of games, you start to become big complacent. And AHQ gets directly seeded to the finals, and in the finals they meet the Flash Wolves, their rivals. And traditionally, AHQ always beaten the Flash Wolves in a best of series. But this time, the Flash Wolves beat AHQ 3-0. AHQ pretty got smashed. For the most part, it was very one-sided. And once again, bad luck struck Chawy and they don't make it to MSI. But the season's not over yet. There's still a chance to go to Worlds. AHQ has good circuit points. They are still the top 2 teams in that region going into the summer split. And they have a chance. Chawy has a chance to break the curse. It's totally possible. But will the curse repeat itself? Or will it not? We will see in upcoming months, for sure. And this was the story of Chawy, the unsung hero.